It is time to look at stories that made it to the front pages of the newspaper. Now, starting off with a Daily Trust. We have there on the front page of Daily Trust newspaper, Dangote marketers in fresh row over sale of petrol. They said we are ready to buy from private refinery, but, says the marketers, Nigerians demand fuel price reduction and availability. I mean, that's something that Nigerians have been demanding for a long time now, and we hope, you see the reality that could happen. Now, Atiku cautions as court stops monthly releases to rivers. Power restored in Kano, Plateau, Bauchi, Gombe, Benue, Kaduna, and Nasarawa. We have that there. And then on the bottom, we have Tinubu appoints Oluyede acting chief of army staff, and Senate confirms Dinyadi, Suwaiba, Meha, and 4 others as ministers. Don't take everything IMF World Bank tells you, Jega tells federal government. An abducted female doctor and nephew regains freedom after 10 months. Well, those are the stories we have on the front pages of the Daily Trust newspaper for you this morning. All right, now let's look at Nation. On the Nation this morning, boldly there we have assigning portfolios to ministerial nominees excites senators. All right, that we have there boldly on the Nation. And then still at the top, Tinubu appoints Major General Oluyede as acting army officer, as acting chief of army staff rather. And then still on the Nation, we have EFCC arrests refinery MD over $35 million brass project firm. Sanwo-Olu Enole 18th floor Ibom Towers Foundation in Lagos, and vessels with petrol jet A1 and others berth in Lagos. Now, on the 2024 APC campaign council targets 80% votes. Parties pass confidence votes on INEC. SDP running mate dumps party for APC, and ADC candidate promises to improve security. That's a whole lot of drama for the Hundu election. Now, traditional rulers to get constitutional role in government. That is in River State, and court. Traditional rulers to get constitutional role in government, and court stops CBN and AG from releasing allocation to River State. Those are the stories we have on the front pages of the Nation. And now finally looking at Guardian. On Guardian newspaper this morning, new twist as Rivers stakeholders fault allocation suspension order. TCN restores power to North, says IHRC. 1.5 trillion naira lost to blackouts. NAT may join NASU in SANU strike over salary arrears, issues ultimatum. Tinubu appoints Oluyede as acting chief. Elected officials selfish, undermining citizens' welfare, Jega laments. Senate confirms Tinubu's 7 ministerial nominees. Tax reform bills in Dume, Arawa Group lock horns as NGF and traditional rulers meet. Energy cost, Jackpot syndrome threatens survival of varsity system. Governance, Mo Ibrahim reports scores Nigeria low. Then still there, INEC blames non-trial of offenders on outdated laws and others. Those are the stories we have on the front pages of the Guardian newspaper. Now, joining us in the studio to look at the stories that made it to the front pages of the headline, papers, and also to analyze, it in details, we have Dr. Suleiman, former chairman, editorial board, Daily Trust, as he joins us to review some of the headlines. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Linda. It's good to see you again. Yeah, thank you.
All right, let's look at the stories that have made it. I would love to ask first of all, which of them caught your interest? Let's start with that.
A lot of them. Most of them are about some of the core issues in Nigeria, some of the really constitutional issues that we have not really addressed for a long time. So, for example, the story about the Senate being excited that the president now signs the list of ministerial nominees with their portfolios. This issue has been going on in Nigeria since 1999. That the president will normally send an empty, blank, list of nominees to the Senate, and then nothing. You don't know what questions you are going to ask the person because the actual job that he's going to do as a minister is not indicated in the list. So we ended up with situations where people were asked to recite the national anthem, or take a bow and go, and the constitutional process, which requires that the National Assembly should interrogate potential nominees of the president, not just ministers, but also other offices. For example, chairman INEC, chairman ICPC, and all these things, that doesn't get to happen. For example, if somebody is nominated to head EFCC, you know the job, so you can ask him. But if somebody is going to be a minister, maybe, for example, Attorney General, an important ministerial position, you don't know what portfolio he's going for. So I think it is very good that Tinubu is trying to change that on this occasion, that he has at least indicated for the ministers what role they are going to do. Unfortunately, you expected that the Senate, who are supposedly excited, to take that seriously, because what normally happens is that the Senate and their staff will do a lot of research on each of these people, on the policy issues in these offices, in these ministerial offices, and come up with a list of issues that are pertinent to them and their constituencies, who elected them to represent them, and then raise questions about this. They will do research about even the individuals that are coming to office, their style of leadership, their previous achievements, and so on and so forth, But this time around, even though the president has actually done the right thing, the Senate, I'm not sure if they have taken a cue and also given us. But I would say that it's still something positive, because it's a permanent democracy that we have. So tomorrow, maybe another Senate, or maybe even this Senate, another ministerial position, they will take it more seriously. We can only hope for that.
I would say we'll take the win we have for today and
Yes.
go with it and run with
Yes.
it.
Yes.
And it's quite disappointing, we would say, that they didn't do their homework and
They did not.
go the right way. But we hope that, like you said, another Senate. Now, power restored in Kano, Plateau, Bauchi, Gombe, Benue, Kaduna, and Nasarawa. Although we had a caller this morning from Gombe who said he has not. The power has not been restored in his area at all. So yeah, probably we'll say parts of, not completely. But what's your thoughts on the blackout that has been happening in the 17 northern states? We've seen how it has impacted businesses. We saw an ice block seller saying ice block went from 50 naira, 100 naira to 2,500 naira. And you could imagine the ripple effect it will have on the cost of things, even things that don't require chilling. So what is your take on that blackout that has happened? How it has impacted the north, the fact that it's this vandalism that had a role to play with it, which still questions our level of insecurity in the country. The role of Nigerians, the government, how long it has taken, all of everything that has happened. What's your take on it?
Thank you very much. I think this issue has been going on for a few days now, and there's hardly anything new that anyone can say about this. But for me, in this latest development, the real issue, because people have been going around blaming the federal government, blaming TCN, blaming whoever they need to blame. But what this really shows for me, and you mentioned insecurity, what really this shows is the kinds of pockets of insurgencies in northern Nigeria, from Boko Haram to banditry to Ansaruddin and all these kinds of things. They just got to stop. And as far as I'm concerned, this is the real issue. If somebody is blaming TCN, because these are infrastructure that have been installed in the country. Some of them dates back to 50, 60 years since they've been installed. They've always had problems, but the problems they've had are the sort of problems that, other people in other parts of the country have also had. But this one is unique in the sense that it is caused by bandits, and so on. So what we have now is destroying civilian infrastructure is a classic definition of terrorism. Destroying civilian infrastructure is a classic terrorist act. And for me, that's what people really need to pay attention to. That what we see now is no longer the issue of maybe kidnapping you as an individual, or me as an individual, or our families and so on, and demanding ransoms, or even sacking communities, but it's an attack, a sort of declaration of war against the entire region, for nothing. And why? Because these things have become big businesses in northern Nigeria. They are trying to, in my opinion, or as I understand it, to threaten or blackmail the government from, okay, if we can do this, just like they do kidnap people or kidnap school children and then demand ransom for them. And sometimes government or other individuals even pay them these ransoms or engage in some kinds of negotiations with them. They are now, going the entire scale now by trying to destroy the economy of somebody cited statistics that about 1.2 trillion, 1.5, right, trillion have been lost since this incident. That's the north, which is the poorest part of the country already, which already suffers from the kinds of economic distortions that you cannot only imagine, rather than describe. It's now suffering 1.3 trillion. If you were to put this together, for example, in context, how much do northern states as a whole get from federation account on a monthly basis? This 1.2 trillion or 1.5 trillion that we're talking about would probably amount to the entirety of the allocation accounts, federal allocations to northern states for maybe 6 months or even more. So we're dealing with something here that we need to be really focused that, okay, these insecurities, and I don't even like to call them insecurity, because if we say insecurity, we're talking about ordinary crimes, burglaries, even armed robberies, and things like that. But this is a group of people who know exactly what they are doing, and who know how much damage this can cause to the entire country, or at least the largest part of it, northern Nigeria. You understand, and then they go ahead to do that's insurgency. Right. So I think we need to address this. I understand the disparities and the distortions in terms of the general supply of electricity, those ones that existed before. The fact that, for example, Lagos State has 24% of the total supply to the country. We know this, but you cannot address these questions if you don't address these insurgencies in the first place,
We hope that it's going to be addressed. The problem is I will always see news saying we have killed this and that terrorist, but it doesn't relate to what is happening every day. If these terrorists are being killed, why are they not reducing in number? Are they keep recruiting every day? And then we also saw a story talking about how one of the reasons why it's not been fixed is because bandits are attacking the people who are going there to fix it. So it means we're still playing the same tape over and over again. And what is the guarantee that if it's been fixed, it won't be vandalized again for their mission to be accomplished? But now let's move away from that and look at what is playing out in River State.
Okay, thank you. But you said we hope.
Yes.
We can hope, but I don't see that this is something for which people should only hope. Frankly, there's no choice left.
Yes.
That this is a war on the rest of us, and the rest of us, we have got to rise to say this is impossible. Just imagine a pregnant woman who had been taken to hospital, or anyone else who had been sick and taken to, and because there is no light in the hospital, the operation could not be done, and imagine how hospitals will have to run now on gen at a time that fuel is so expensive. So I see that there has to be some kind of concerted action. In a way, I'm even happy that this happened, because it has brought everybody in Nigeria now is talking about the northern situation as a whole. So what we need is some sort of a northern agenda, to say, okay, these kinds of problems, what are the policy solutions to them, and who is to do what, and then we put heads together from the ordinary people like yourself and me, and then to the governors, to the federal government representatives, to the senators and members of House of Representatives and so on that you have in Abuja here. Everybody, there has to be some action, some sense that there is a unity of purpose and unity of action. Even that alone can dissuade people from thinking they can hold the rest of us hostage.
Well, I think the more we come together, the easier it would be to hold the necessary people accountable and hold those responsible and brought to justice. So like we said earlier, before we run out of time, I wouldn't want us to touch on the whole Dangote markets, because we're talking about that all morning.
That's true.
So let's talk about Atiku. Let's talk about River State. What is playing out in between Fubara and Wike and the local government chairman? And now we're seeing that there's a move to stop the release of allocation to River State. since this started, River State has been the spotlight of attention with the game of politics that is being played there at the moment. What is your take on all that is playing out in Fubara and the road it's leading to, and what do you foresee happening in the short term?
I sincerely hope that the Tinubu government will not go ahead and do it, because the irony will be so sad that it will just be staring even the president himself directly on the face. Because if you remember, during Obasanjo's first and second terms, they had a similar situation against the Lagos State government when Tinubu himself was governor of Lagos State at the time. And because of personal grudges, or personal political issues between the president and Tinubu himself, who was governor at the time, then President Obasanjo and Tinubu, the federal government stopped allocations to Lagos. It was Yar'Adua, when he came on, who now released the monies to them by the time Tinubu himself had left. So if the president is now Tinubu, who then was the victim at the time, who was at the receiving end of things like that at the time, is now happy to watch something like this happen merely because they now say that it's a court that is doing that. Because I don't think the allocation of a state's remittances from federal is a constitutional issue. I don't think there's any court that can say that this should not be done or that should not be done. And I don't think that depends on any conditionalities. It's not Fubara's money. People have to understand this. It's money for the state government for the state of River State for being part of the Nigerian nation, just like Lagos or any other state. So my hope is that, and I'm mentioning that word again.
Yes.
My hope is that the president himself will not allow this to happen. Because if you do good thing in one side, and then you cancel it out with doing wrong in the other side, what sense does that make?
What sense does that make? Truly. Well, it's actually been a very interesting, insightful, and eye-opening conversation with you this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for making out time to find your way to our studios this morning.
Thank you very much, Lillian. It's nice seeing you all the time.
All right, that was Dr. Suleiman, former chairman, editorial board, Daily Trust, here with us in the studio. And look, where we're looking at the stories that made it to the front pages of the newspaper. Well, with that, we've come to the end of Daybreak this morning. It's good to have you with us. We hope we're able to keep you informed and educated at the same time. We're able to keep you glued to your seat. But we have to go now. At the top of the hour, we'll have sports, we'll have business much later, and we'll have news at noon. So stick around, we still have a lot more to come. Now, as you go around your daily activities today, please find a way to always source out the right information. Avoid fake news, reach out to credible media outlets and sources to get the right information. Equip yourself with information, read where necessary, because that is the only way you can understand what is playing out in the country. Ask the right questions and find a way to forge forward positively. Well, having said that, my name is Lilian Ogazi. Bye for now.